Hi guys, it's me again, Jen. If you are new here, I'm a Filipino living here in Ireland and I am sharing some of my personal experiences here in my YouTube channel. And quite recently, I've decided to make a series of videos that I think will be very interesting and useful to people who are about to move here in Ireland. So, welcome to one of those videos, and today I'm going to talk about the working visa processing and how long it's going to take. So at this point, you must be so thrilled because you finally got that offer from your employer. And trust me when I say that I still remember vividly my reaction when I got mine back in 2018. But no, kidding aside, I just closed my eyes and then I took it all in. And then I started imagining wearing those lovely coats that I only see in movies. And then I opened my eyes and I'm still in the Philippines, lying in my nice cozy bed. I realized that it's probably going to take a long time before I get to Europe physically. Because as a non-EU person, I know that I will be required to have a working visa. And I just know that it is a long, tedious process for Filipinos to move abroad, which unfortunately was true for me because it took 7 long months for me to be onboarded. But don't worry, because I strongly believe that that is once off. It's just because I was the first Filipino that my company recruited directly from the Philippines. I know for sure that you also wanted to know what requirements are required from you and how much time do you have to plan for your despedida or your going away party. Most importantly, how much of your savings you're going to burn while waiting for it. So basically, the length of your processing is going to depend on 3 things. Number 1 is the experience of your company in recruiting foreign nationals like you. So for example, in my case, my first contract was signed by a payroll associate, and then we found out that it needs to be a higher level position for some requirements by the Philippines, right? So that process then was doubled because that contract needed to be sent to me physically to the Philippines for signature and then sent back to Ireland for the processing of the working permit. And then another thing that caused a little bit of delay is that my company wasn't sure if my credentials as a licensed certified public accountant in the Philippines was sufficient for them to apply for the working permit in Ireland. By the way, that turned out to be a good news because it was enough. And now that I'm reminiscing it, actually, my company is really great because I remember they were ready to wait for me until I get that ACCA exam done, if indeed that was needed. So fair play, they're really good. And number 2 is whether they're going to use an immigration agency to process this application. Because let's face it, immigration agencies would have more experiences in doing this, and the application is quite technical in terms of gathering of documents and then filling out governmental forms. So obviously, if they will hire an immigration agency, then that will be faster. Lastly, it's not only the company and the immigration agencies that's going to impact the length of your processing, but also yourself. Because if you have travel plans within the processing period, then just know that that will also impact and sometimes delay the processing of your visa. So I'm sure you've heard of this before, that it is easier to get a new job if you have a job. And that is 100% true. And so I'm going to count on the assumption that you are still employed while you are undergoing the interview process and that you are still earning your salary income. The whole process is going to be in 6 stages, so let's begin counting. First stage is the offer letter. And I know exactly the first thing you're going to do when you receive that mail is get that calculator and then translate the euro amount that you see in there into Philippine pesos. And I also know exactly what you're going to think, that it is such a huge amount, so you're ready to sign and then you're out the gap. But I'm also telling you that no, it is not. Especially with the current prices, you are better off negotiating your salary and or your benefits. So hold off. Hold off on accepting that offer and negotiate. And don't worry, because the company is definitely not going to retract that offer just because you're negotiating the fees. In fact, they might be impressed because you definitely know your worth. So let's assume that you didn't take the initial contract. So let's say there will be 1 to 2 weeks of negotiating between you and the company. And then on to the next stage, which is the assessment of your documents and your qualifications. Now, this could be done either by the company or the immigration agency, wherein they request for your documents such as your diploma, your license, your degree, and your transcript of records, and also your membership in the professional regulatory body in your country. For example, PICPA in the case of CPAs. So they will be assessing your eligibility to apply for that working permit. And like I mentioned a while ago, they might already ask for your travel plans, so they will have an estimate of how long it's going to take for them to onboard you to the company. And usually this will take 1 to 2 weeks as well. The third stage then is the verification of your contract. Now this is specific to Filipinos because we have a government body called POLO, which is the Philippine Overseas Labor Office. They make sure that your contract meets the minimum requirement of an overseas job employment. One important note is that there is no Philippine embassy in Ireland. The closest is in London, so all of your documents will need to be shipped to London and then processed there, and then the final document needs then to be shipped back to Ireland. The requirements for this stage is your employment contract plus other documents like the exemption for the direct hiring ban. The whole process then is going to take around 2 weeks. We're halfway there, and this fourth stage is the application of your work permit. Now, this involves the completion of a form which has sections about your details, like your degree, your education, and even the score that you got from the university is requested there. And it also asks a number of non-EU persons that the company is already employing. This is actually the longest stage in the whole process. This took 6 weeks for me, and you actually need to add 1 more week because that work permit will need to be delivered to you in the Philippines for the next stages. And now we're moving on to the 5th stage, which is the employment visa application. When you reach this stage, this means that Ireland is now ready to welcome you with open arms, and they're just waiting for you to arrive. What you need to do in this stage is to just schedule that appointment with the Irish embassy in your country and then gather all the required documents for your application. For example, your contract, your employment permit from stage 4, your bank statement, because they just need to know that you'll be able to sustain yourself in the first few weeks or a month that you arrive there without salary. And then your payment fee, which should be reimbursed by the company to you as well. And that stage took around 4 weeks. And finally, we're at the last stage, which is OEC. Now, OEC stands for Overseas Employment Certificate, which is again very specific for Filipinos. What is involved here is your POLO verified contract from stage 3, company profile, which your company should be able to help you with, an insurance coverage, which is very specific, by the way, so you need to check their site for the accredited companies. And finally, a notarized statement of how you got the job. And on top of that, you actually need to attend an OFW training in the POEA building in Manila. And that stage took around 2 weeks. So finally, you're done. Congratulations. You're ready to go to Ireland after 4 to 5 months. Sure, it sounds so long, but don't worry, it's definitely worth the wait. So that's it, guys. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and if you have any questions, just pop them up on the comment box below. And I'm hoping that this video has been useful for you. See you again next week. Ciao!